I have been, first of all, it's really difficult as a sexuality coach to not be continually blocked or banned or put under restriction for the work that we do, which is just another reason, why the work is so important. But the other thing is, so much of what I share feels so restricted on Instagram anyway because of the time limit, and I feel like YouTube is so good for me to just yap. TikTok is good for that too, but I find it to be the most difficult of all restrictions. So we're gonna start here and we're gonna see where the journey takes us, and I'm really excited. I'm just thinking about everything that I can offer here and that we can share here. I was thinking, I should do a video to introduce myself and my channel, but I think we're just gonna get right into it. So we're gonna talk today about tips to give the best BJ ever. Actually, when I asked on my Instagram poll, I asked my audience 4 different options for what I should do for my first video, and they all got kind of even answers. I think pelvic brain connection was the most, so I will do that video, but I'll do it in a little bit because it's more extensive. So let's dive into this. Firstly, I want to say the number one tip, in my opinion, is it is so much more about the energy that we put into these things than it is about the technique. I could give you a few tips for technique, but honestly, it's getting hot. You can see my sweat. Honestly, if you are doing technique and then you're not enjoying it, or you are doing it out of kind of performance instead of desire, then it's gonna be felt and it's gonna make a difference. So my biggest tip is to actually move to it from an energy of, I am giving a part of myself to you, I am enjoying this. And if you're somebody who doesn't enjoy it, that's a different thing, maybe for a different video. But I do think that the energy we move toward it is the biggest factor. And then the second thing is service. So something I see a lot in relationship work is this tit for tat mentality in relationships, which is oh, he went down on me, so I have to go down on him. And the thing about this is it becomes really unsafe really fast, and it takes us out of the present moment, and it takes us out of our body when we're actually considering what we desire and what we want and what it feels like in the moment to serve out of that desire. So it's again, that really goes hand in hand with the energy and the service. If we're moving out of obligation, it's going to feel different for us and for them than if we're moving to it from I am serving you, I am on my knees telling you how I feel about you with my hand and with my mouth, So that would be number 2. Number 3 is don't underestimate the power of tease. I do think women and men are a bit different, where tease is extremely important for women, probably more important than the actual sex itself, but it's still important for men. It is, especially, men have different struggles when it comes to receiving, and that's important to get to know with our partners as well. But if we actually realize that they are more than their cock, that they have a whole body, and that when we can kind of move to it at this pace of, I'm going to touch you slowly or passionately or sensually on the back of your knee, on the tip of your nose, and then I'm going to slowly make my way down to your cock. And even when you get to that part, not immediately going for it, but understanding that it's very sensitive, just like our clitoris, just like our labia. And so starting slow, starting soft and building up. Remember, the head is a lot more sensitive than the shaft, so starting lower and moving higher, or starting really softly and then getting more intense and playing with that is really amazing. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say there and I can't remember. I don't know. I think that was it. So that's number 3. Yeah, number 4 would be the 8 out of 10 rule. And by that, I mean, and you can you could ask this explicitly, or you can use this, like, kind of intuit it. But when your partner is an 8 out of 10 when it comes to pleasure and getting close to coming, then that would be when to fall back, to get lighter, and then build back up to that point. Because each time that you get to that point, or he gets to that point, then and you fall back, it's going to build and build and build. So 8 out of 10 is a really nice rule to follow, really nice game to play. That was number 4, right? So 8 out of 10 rule, teasing, service, energy. And then number 5 would be, I had one, and now hold on one second. So number 5 then, and the last tip here would be breath. This is really essential when it comes to so many aspects of pleasure, and being able to expand pleasure throughout our body, and being able to experience the present moment that much more deeply, which then expands the pleasure. But it also helps men so much, and helps us to encourage them as partners to be able to elongate their pleasure as well. So instead of noticing him like clenching up and ooh and tightening, like, if you start to breathe loud and slow, it can encourage him to do that as well. So number 1, with that, you're synchronizing your breaths together, which can be really intimate. But then the other thing is, you are really helping to remind him and to lead him to a place where he can have this long, deep breath to deepen the pleasure, to elongate the pleasure, etc. So that would be number 5. Those are my overall best BJ tips. Now I can give you like a few other tips when it comes to just kind of being mindful, like specifically men who haven't gotten circumcised. The tip of their cock is very sensitive, just very similar to a clitoris for us as women. It's still sensitive, still very sensitive with those who have gotten circumcised, but I notice less sensitivity. So you want to be aware of that. So instead of like moving toward that with a lot of intensity, you want like a little bit more intensity on the shaft, and then a little bit more like rhythm and sensuality and softness at the tip. Always like the best to combine the hand and the mouth, and there's like this one really nice trick where you have your mouth up and down and your hand is twisting. I don't know if I should like demonstrate. This is what I should do in my private community membership I'm planning on having. But you twist in a circle with your hand, and then you go up and down with your mouth, and then you can kind of like play with the rhythm. So instead of twisting, you're just going up and down with your hand in your mouth, and then you go back to the twisting, and then you take away the hand and just use your mouth. And when it comes to, I should say this too, like anything regarding deep throating, okay, this is my not my unpopular, but my underrated opinion with this. People always are like, oh, if you have no gag reflex, then it's the best for BJs and for deep throat. But actually having a slight controlled gag reflex will help you have way thicker spit to lubricate and then use with your hand as well, and it makes it that much hotter. So don't underestimate that, but definitely when you come to doing that, relax your throat prior, relax your whole body and move to it. And you know, if you have this open, yummy, curious energy, it's going to help so much with that as well. So that is the other thing that I'll say about that. And the other thing I'll say too, lastly, is these are like mini side tips, right? So we have my top 5. These are like mini side tips. Is a lot of men are really visual, so they like to see you. They like to see you in different positions, and consider your comfort too. Like, you don't want to be so uncomfortable for the sake of them, but like also they are visual, and you're part of this beautiful visual journey that they're having alongside the sensual journey of touch they're having. So consider that as well. And yeah, enjoy. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And happy intimacy.